Hi everyone, this is Akiko Fujimoto, music director of the Mid-Texas Symphony. Today I'm so honored to be joined by two very special guests. They're both violinists and they're both with the Mid-Texas Symphony from the very, very beginning of our history. One of them is Nina Mavrinac. She is our principal second violinist, and the other guest is Ms. Eithne Goetz. She is currently our librarian, and until just about a few years ago, she was also a member of the violin section. So welcome, ladies. How are you?
Great. Nice to see you.
Great to see you. Let's get right to business. Tell me how you joined the orchestra. How did you come in to join the Mid-Texas Symphony? Nina, why don't you go first?
Well, somebody called me and said there was one starting in New Braunfels, and they told me it was going to be in the bank building on Court Street, isn't it, Eithne, I think?
Yeah, Seguin, in Court Street in Seguin.
In Seguin, Court Street. And it was in the basement, so we had to go down into the basement to practice in this bank building.
And what year was this?
It was 86, wasn't it? I think
78.
78. I reversed it.
1978. Wow. So Nina, you just heard about it.
I just heard about it. Somebody called me.
Wow. Okay. They were looking for violinists. Eithne, how about you?
Well, I was living in Seguin at the time, and I saw an ad in the paper. I saw a news article in the paper about the symphony being launched. And even though I had played violin growing up, I had not played for a couple of years. So I didn't think I would go to the rehearsals or audition or anything, but they were looking for volunteers for the guild chapter. And so I went to a meeting of volunteers, and I ended up being appointed to take charge of the champagne reception after the first concert. So for the first concert, I just listened. Yeah.
I believe we have a picture of that, Eithne.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Let's see if I can pull it up.
Yes, there.
Is that you?
Yeah, that was at the newspaper office in town. And that's the newspaper I'm holding actually has a picture of Anita Wendecker playing the piano. And there was an article in there about the launching of the symphony. And then we sent invitations to people to the reception afterwards. So I was holding the invitation to try to encourage people to come to the first concert.
Wow. Well, that is a great picture. And you mentioned Ms. Anita Wendecker. Ms. Wendecker is, of course, the founder of the Mid-Texas Symphony. She still lives in Seguin and attends some of our concerts whenever she can. But she was a piano professor at Texas Lutheran University. She actually taught some of our board members when they were undergraduates at TLU. Back then it was TLC, right? So if it weren't for Anita's vision, none of us would be talking today like this about the Mid-Texas Symphony. So that's really amazing. Now, let's look at some other picture of what, like, some of the first, I don't know, like, what it was like. I mean, you mentioned that you were rehearsing in the bank building, Nina. Where did we perform before, and what is it like?
I don't remember where we performed it first.
We performed in the Coliseum in Seguin. And actually, before the bank building, that was kind of a step up, because before that we rehearsed at the TLU band hall, which was unair conditioned at that time.
Wow!
So moving to the bank building, which had air conditioning, was a big plus for us.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to pull up another picture from 1979. This is a Messiah. Can you see that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so where is this?
This is at the basketball gym at TLU. And we had, you can see some members of the chorus at the back, and the orchestra, and our conductor at that time was Tom Jensen.
Wow.
And, yeah.
Well,
So
that is really amazing. So tell me a little bit about what the orchestra was like back then. You know, aside from playing in a basketball court, what was the orchestra like?
Well, Nina, do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Well, we played one time when Terry Frazier was conducting in the rodeo arena.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Wow.
Among the mosquitoes. And
Yes. We did the 1812. It was a July concert, and it was the week after the youth rodeo.
Yes.
There were many flies, and we were sitting out in the sand. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
Wow.
And,
you know, today the Mid-Texas Symphony is mostly professional, but back then I understand, and we have professional, you know, staff also in the office, but I understand it started out with a lot of volunteers and just a lot of community power. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Eithne?
Yeah,
who was involved in the starting of all this?
Well, there are quite a few people that are still around Seguin who used to play right at the beginning. We were all volunteers, and we used to practice for about 6 weeks ahead of a concert, and then towards the end, because we were always very short of strings, especially, and so towards the end we would have the professionals like Nina and some of the other people, a lot of people who are still part of the symphony, who would come and try to fill our ranks so we could, especially with strings, so we could balance properly.
Wow.
With winds and brass.
And who came to the concerts?
A lot of people came to the concerts. All local. Yeah, we used to have we had a big audience. We always performed in Seguin and New Braunfels. And I can remember, Nina, I don't know if you remember performing in Gonzales one time at the high school.
Yes.
Yeah, we did. I think we did Beethoven's Fifth, if I remember.
Wow.
Yes.
So you not only performed in Seguin and New Braunfels, but you did runouts to other cities
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Now,
And we used to have people coming from New Braunfels to the concert, from Gonzales to the concerts also.
oh,
Even
wow.
in New Braunfels, yeah. They'd come to hear it.
That's fantastic. Now, Nina, I understand that your brother also played with the symphony. Is he in this picture?
He's right in the very back.
All right.
Glasses. Yeah.
That's great. What's his name?
Leonard Plummer.
There's his name. I see it. Leonard Plummer.
And he also played in the Austin Symphony with Akira.
Got it.
Second
Now, Akira was one of the music directors of the past, the one right before Dave Mars. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Eithne, I was talking to you the other day about just basic history because I'm a newbie. This is my only second season with the symphony, so I'm just learning it all from you guys. You mentioned that Akira was one of the first really stable presences. And of course, with Dave Mars, we had over 20 years of stability. Tell us a little bit about each of the two music directors that came before I did.
Well, Akira came, he started off just doing 1 or 2 concerts before he became the actual music director. And I think the first concert he ever played with us he ever conducted was at the opening of Jackson Auditorium.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Yes. Yeah. Jackson Auditorium is where it's kind of our regular venue.
Yes, our home base. Yeah.
Today we perform there, at least 3 times a season, September, December, and April. And we're very lucky to have a presence there on the campus of Texas Lutheran University and collaborate with the music department. Tell me, both of you, going from a basement of a bank building to Jackson must have been quite an upgrade.
It really was. what we as string players loved is Akira did all the bowings, every one of them. And
Wow.
a lot of us now keep those bowings because they're really a treasure, because he bowed all the parts.
That's great.
Well,
Well, speaking of Akira and strings, I think you gave me a picture that I want to share where he is in it. This is for those of you who are new to the symphony. Nina every year puts together students from area Suzuki studios. You know, one of them would be, of course, Nina's studio, but she would invite other teachers to bring young Suzuki students, beginning string students, to play a short piece with the Mid-Texas Symphony. So, but this is the very first one, as I understand it, and Akira is in it. Is this it?
yes,
Yeah, so tell me about this picture.
Well, Akira's in the very back, in the middle, and then I had two other teachers beside myself.
Mm-hmm.
Their students. No, actually there was three. I see one more back there. And they brought their little Suzuki students to play.
With the symphony.
With the symphony.
That's fabulous.
And we, I think Akira was familiar with the big group things that they do, like in Japan. Everybody playing, because when I talked to David Mars about doing it, he said, but they won't sound very loud, just one person playing. I said, no, they're all playing the same thing.
Right.
They will sound loud.
Well, you're talking, in Japan, you're talking about Mr. Shinichi Suzuki's big, like, conference of
hundreds of kids.
Right, hundreds of students together. Well, that's fabulous that you have this tradition here. So, yeah. That was New Braunfels Civic Center, where we hope to play this March and have a regular presence at. But tell me more about Jackson and what being at Jackson has been like for you.
Well, even though we started at Jackson in '86, we didn't practice there. We practiced there just on the Saturday and Sunday like we do now. And then the locals, the local, as we became a professional orchestra, we had some local players who continued to play, you know, in different parts of the orchestra, and especially the local string players, of whom I was one. We got together and practiced for the 3 weeks before the first rehearsal, the first full orchestral rehearsal, and we practiced in the band hall. And sometimes if there was if there was some kind of conflict with Jackson, the whole orchestra practiced in the band hall at TLU, which had become air conditioned by then.
Oh.
So it was great.
That's great.
So it worked. So we've always had a really close relationship with Texas Lutheran, and we've had some of their faculty play in the orchestra.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's been a great relationship. So
absolutely. And later this fall, I'm going to do an interview with Eliza Jeffers, who is our assistant principal violist, but she's also the viola professor and the orchestra director at TLU. So I'm looking forward to asking her about the relationship between the two institutions more then. So now, you know, we have the musicians, we have the conductors, who actually ran the orchestra in the beginning years. And I have this great picture I want to share with everyone from 1988. And I'm going to ask Eithne to tell me about what's going on here.
Well, this was, as far as I remember, this was the first time we had a children's concert, because we have a picture of some guild members. I'm in the back, and I was there as a guild member. And we have the vice president for guild, and then the rest of the people there were all music teachers at the time. Mm-hmm. And we started, I think the first children's concert that we started was in 1998. And I had a call from Miss Wendecker asking me if I would get together a docent program to prepare the children for the first children's concert.
Okay.
So we got all of the music teachers together and talked to them about how we would do this, and what they would be able to have in their classroom. And so we started out with a docent program where we actually had people going into the classroom to talk to the children about the music they were going to hear, how they were supposed to behave, all of that kind of thing. So I think this is a picture of the preparation for that. And in fact, one of the teachers there on the left, Kathy Clark, is still involved with preparing children for the children's concerts, and also with preparing children for the children's chorus who sing with the orchestra at Christmas. And so she's been around a while too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned, Mid-Tex Symphony, even though we have paid staff, like myself and the executive director, Jason Earl, and you and our personal manager, Ray Fisher, so much of it is run, the engine is the volunteerism of the board and the guild. And Eithne, you're not just a member of the orchestra and librarian, but you are also a member of the guild. Tell me a little bit about what the guilds do. We have one in New Braunfels and one in Seguin, right?
Right. Well, we actually think of it as being one guild with two chapters. So we have a New Braunfels chapter and a Seguin chapter. And the right at the very beginning, the first thing we did, as I mentioned, was put on the reception after the first concert, and then we started having symphony balls to try to raise money. And even in the beginning, the orchestra used to play at the symphony ball for the first few years. Mm-hmm. And then we, in about 1987 or so, we started the debutante program here in Seguin, and then it spread to New Braunfels. And we presented a number of girls, seniors in high school, who had to raise money for the symphony in order to be a part of the program. And over the years, we've had that's still ongoing. Had to stop this year in Seguin because of COVID, but we hope to renew it again next year. We also do things like having a poinsettia sale. We sell poinsettias at Christmas. We think of ourselves as kind of the lower level fundraisers, doing rather than the board, which and the executive director who write grants and who look for large donations. We do the small things. And one of our things, which I think has been very popular with the musicians, is to handle the hospitality for the orchestra.
Yeah, that's very important. Tell us more. It's important to me too.
Nina, I think you can talk about how the musicians like that.
Oh, they love it. They love it. They look forward to coming to Mid-Texas for the hospitality.
So tell everybody a little bit more about what that means. What do they get?
Lots of homemade sandwiches and cookies and everything. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing because when I first started conducting at the Mid-Tex Symphony, I would run out of the hall for rehearsal break, and on my way to the dressing room, there would be this amazing spread of cookies and crackers and sandwiches and water, coffee. I mean, amazing. And I think it's amazing what food can do to motivate us, especially when we're burning a lot of calories up there playing and listening. And so we really appreciate the hospitality of the guilds. And the debutantes, they help out with ushering. I noticed I see them all the time before and after concerts. They do a great job. And of course, the poinsettia sales. I mean, you say lower level, but it's very important what the guilds do. So we really appreciate you and everybody who participates in those. Now, let's go back to talking about music. So Eithne, I mean, you played all the way up until a couple years ago, and Nina, you've been playing all these years. Can you pick, I know it might be impossible, but can you pick like one performance that is memorable to you?
I can, because in one of the performances at Jackson Auditorium, we played the Bach double. And the leaders of the first violin section was my former student, and she led them, and I started her when she was 5 years old. And now she's an orchestra teacher at Johnson in San Antonio.
Okay.
And she was leading it, and I was leading the second violins, and it was just wonderful. You know,
That's
I almost
great.
cried.
Oh, you must have been so proud.
Yeah, because it, like one of the bass players said, it sounded like a professional group.
That's awesome.
And they play it all by memory. They can't use music.
That's amazing. Eithne, what about you?
Well, I was trying to think about, you know, some of the ones that I really remember very well. I remember when we played at the Brontex with Pepe Romero. He came and played the Concierto de Aranjuez, and it was, my husband played classical guitar back in the day. And so to actually be on the same stage with, you know, a world famous guitar artist like that, and to hear the music, I'll always remember that. It was a wonderful concert, and it was wonderful to be able to do it at a small venue. Even though it's not really a concert hall, the kind of music that was chosen worked very well, and I think it was a wonderful evening. And then I remember things like the time we were crazy enough to do Beethoven's Ninth, and we got a community chorus together, and I can remember that we practiced in the cafeteria of the high school because we didn't have enough room to get everybody together, but it just went really well.
That's great.
Yeah, there are a lot of very memorable concerts. I always felt privileged to be a part of the orchestra.
That's great.
Yeah.
And we feel lucky to have you guys in it. So before we close, tell us one thing or something that makes the Mid-Texas Symphony special compared to other orchestras we might have played in. What makes it special and unique?
I think mostly it's like a family. It really is like a family. And some orchestras are not like that.
Right. Well said. I got the feeling when I first walked in the door, definitely.
Yeah, I feel that too. And the last couple of years when I've been a member of the audience, it has still felt like that. Even though I'm not on the stage, I still get that feeling just being in the audience and hearing the music and seeing familiar faces and seeing new faces. It's really been, it's a very special experience.
That's
and
great.
I really appreciated it very much.
And, you know, this pandemic, it's really hard to predict the future, but assuming, you know, that it's over and we're back to normal, where do you see the orchestra going? What do you think the orchestra's future is?
Well, I hope that we continue to improve. I hope that we're lucky enough to get as good conductors as we have. We've had, you know, since you started, you've been a wonderful person to have after having Dave Mars for so many years and Akira. It's just been, so much depends on the personality of the conductor and the skill of the conductor to make the orchestra sound good and to have that very positive vibe from the audience. And so I think, I don't see any reason why we can't just continue to improve and to continue to get more audience members, get younger audience members involved. And I think, you know, I think we have a real bright future ahead.
Great. And Nina, what about you?
Well, I think it's wonderful that we have the student concerts because those kids are the future. And I love to see them out there excited and going, you know, listening to the music and moving to the music. It's wonderful to see them.
That's right. And unfortunately, we couldn't do them this season because of the pandemic, but instead we're making a video to send to school districts. So stay tuned for that. And we really can't wait to perform for the kids live after the pandemic. So thank you, ladies, so much. We are both, you know, we're all lucky to have you both in the orchestra. And thanks for telling me a lot about the history. I look forward to continuing to learn from both of you about what the Mid-Tex Symphony is all about, and of course, creating new history together. So Thank you so much for joining me, and stay safe and well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.